Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TMIC's Daily Meditations. We run the most important conversation meditations Monday through Friday. And the theme and the frame of the meditations is liberation. And so our meditations begin with a talk each morning about some distinction or aspect about liberation, which is derived and pulled from our whole life architecture program, which is a live community program where people are re-architecting and recreating their life by design as opposed to tolerating their life by default. And so these meditations pull parts or components of the whole life architecture program and frame them in the context of the theme or the topic of liberation and what we're dealing with in terms of the topic for that day. The topic we have been dealing with this week in our meditations inside of the liberation conversation is that of suffering and how we love to ruminate and live inside of the stories of our suffering. And that we suffer when we are in an unliberated and unaligned state. To be liberated is to get to a place in your life where you are no longer run by your conditioning, that you have been liberated from your conditioning and are standing in the presence of space and nothingness from which all creativity can and must emerge. Creativity can only emerge from a place of no thingness. And so if we as human beings are living from a place of deep conditioning, and by conditioning I mean the thought patterns, the behavioral patterns, the perceptual patterns, the belief systems that we've inherited from our friends, family, and community, if that is gumming up the works of our mind and our energy and our bodies, then it's going to be very difficult to create anything. And yet inside of our conditioning, we experience a perpetual state of suffering in various areas of our life. Suffering is what happens when we are living an unaligned life, unaligned with who we are at an essence, at our core. When we were born, we had no conditioning. We were born a totally open possibility. If you were born in one country, you would learn one language. If you were born in another, you would learn another. There would be different customs and rules from one country to another. And so whatever country and whatever family dynamic, whatever community you were born into, that community, that family, that culture became your conditioning, became the lens through which you viewed and interacted with the world. And we all conflated this lens as reality, as objective reality. Growing up, we didn't question it. And yet we all have a sense of calling inside of ourselves for who we are supposed to be. In the Vedic tradition, they would refer to it as your dharma, your calling, your purpose, the meaning of life, whatever you want to refer to it as. And so this disconnect that we experience between who we feel we are and what we believe is possible for our life runs into our conditioning. And in that moment, that inflection point, we experience suffering. And the thing about our suffering is the normal human response to it is to kind of, while we dislike it, we always tell all kinds of stories about why it has to be. And we get trapped in these stories. Well, that's because of this, or I can't because of that. Our conditioning is so strong that we fail to see that it is the conditioning in the way of our authentic self, our authentic expression of who we are, that is actually the source of our suffering. So liberation is really a path of releasing yourself from your conditioning so that you no longer experience suffering and you can connect to the authentic you that is inside, buried under the conditioning. We have flashes of this throughout our life, flashes of awakening, flashes of awareness of who we are, what makes us come alive. These small, perfect moments where everything feels right with the world, where we feel in total alignment or we have total clarity. We may even be incited to do something about it. And so, in an act of trying to bring about change in our life, we may take a course or go to a conference or buy a book to get ever closer to who we believe we are at our core. The problem with that is simply that very few people, less than 2%, ever experience any of the outcomes or results of the change in their lives that they seek because their conditioning is so strong. So we end up in this sort of suffering cycle. The only way out of that cycle is to fully liberate and divest yourself of your conditioning and then step into your power as a creator and recreate your life from the bottom up with only that which aligns with you. The career path that aligns with you, the people that align with you, the wellness practices that align with you, the geography that aligns with you, where you live, how you spend your time. It is possible to completely recreate oneself from the ground up. And it isn't something that happens overnight because who you are today, you didn't become that way in a matter of weeks or months. It took years. And so in the same way, it can take years to recreate your life, but better to be on the path of recreating a life by design than continuing to just sit and tolerate a life by default. And you know when you're suffering, you know where your suffering is because it shows up as complaint. It shows up as minor forms of resistance that have major impact. These little complaints every day that we make about how something didn't go our way or should be different or we can't do X, Y, or Z. So-and-so is so annoying. That's a projection. We're being triggered by people who are doing the things that perhaps we hope we were doing. And so we sit in this perpetual state of suffering and we assuage ourselves and comfort ourselves through complaint. And this is not just a simple topic to get intellectually or conceptually. We've been talking about it for a few days now. I understand you can understand it. But we're not talking about left brain logical understanding. We're talking about right brain emotional integration, letting this in that you are the creator of your suffering because you've created the conditions for it to perpetuate. And you do nothing about it until you choose to. So the invitation is to actually step into your power as a creator, liberate yourself from a conditioning, no longer tolerating your life by default, tolerating your complaints, tolerating your suffering, and to actually begin to be something about it that leads to different doing around it. When you change who you are being, your doing follows suit. So we've been inquiring this week about in our meditations, when we've been doing the Watcher Observer meditations, we've been in an inquiry of where are you suffering in your life? What areas of your life, deep down, by yourself, honestly, do you know are completely intolerable, even though you've been tolerating them? Where are you experiencing these emotional bursts that are meant to be a guidance system out of your suffering, and yet you just continue to repress the misalignments in your life. You continue to assuage and gloss over the breakdowns, and then they never become breakthroughs. When you sit long enough in this misalignment, you end up in a place called depression. Knowing you are so much more, knowing you could be accomplishing so much more that is in alignment with who you actually are, knowing you could be hanging out with people that align with who you are, and instead you, in choosing to do nothing, continue to sit in a pool of suffering that eventually becomes a chronic state, and we call that chronic state depression. And here's the thing, most of our suffering is mind created. We are our own jailer and prison cell. It's our fear of the unknown of change that has us sit in suffering. What if I did take a new action? What if I did quit my job? What if I did end the relationship that doesn't fulfill me? What if I did change my diet? What if I took a new action in any area of your life? The unknown of what would follow keeps us trapped. This is a mental thing. So it's this interesting thing about change and its relationship to our suffering. On the one hand, we deeply desire and long for change in our life. It's actually only through change that we feel most alive. The uncertainty of the unknown gives us life. Anything is possible. We've all had moments of what I would call controlled change. Change where the parameters were so tightly controlled that we felt safe enough to experience that little microcosm of change. Example, a vacation. The way most people vacation, everything is kind of organized. Everything is predictable. We know where we're going, how we're getting there, how long it's going to take, what we're going to do when we get there, where we're going to stay when we get there, may even have things pre-booked. So there's change to a certain degree because you're not in the same place doing the same things you always do, but it is highly orchestrated and controlled. This seems to be the limit of most people's tolerance for change. The kinds of change where everything is predicted, planned, and known. But what if it's unknown? What if it is unpredictable? This is where most people capitulate and crumble. And yet, for those who have been brave enough to step into that level of change, that is the realm of miracles. That is the realm of anything is possible. That is the realm where the development of a deep sense of self-trust in yourself is a requirement. Trusting and knowing that whatever should emerge, whatever should show up in this unknown, uncertain change, that you will be able to flow with it. And when you start to experience that level of self-trust, to be with change, you can rapidly move through your suffering and away from it. Because in one respect, our suffering is simply the outcome of a lack of self-trust. Because it's the lack of self-trust that keeps us immobilized and frozen. in a misaligned state and in our suffering. And so we have the choice to either develop our self-trust, or to just sit in a pool of our own complaint and suffering and stories and ruminations about why we can't. Choice is ours. The purpose of our liberation work in whole life architecture and the ability to recreate your life is that in most cases, you will not be able to make this kind of change on your own. The idea of self-help is pretty much a misnomer because our brain is so wired to talk us out and neurochemically reward us to not take the step into the unknown, to not change. It's a mechanism we refer to in whole life architecture called the near win, that we are neurochemically rewarded for almost winning behavior or almost completion behavior or almost behavior. It's enough to think about who we could be in another life. We can almost touch it, but we never actually create that life. When you connect in community, when you connect creatively in a collaborative environment, suddenly change becomes possible. Suddenly, your self-trust, which is a requirement, is able to be developed in the community with others who are also on the same journey. The community acts as a reinforcement system to help you develop your self-trust. It's not different than training wheels when you're learning to ride a bike. Having extra wheels on the bike helps you learn to pedal the bike on your own. Having extra people journeying with you helps you develop the self-trust to be able to step into the unknown of your journey, your personal path, knowing that people got your back. So your liberation is possible. Your power to access and stand in your authentic self as a creator of your life is possible. It is possible to exist in thriving circumstances outside of your suffering. It is possible for you to embrace the unknown, but chances are you won't succeed doing it alone. And that's why we do the work that we do in whole life architecture. So continue today as we move into our guided meditation, and throughout the weekend as we break after the meditation, to consider where you are suffering in your life, and are you finally willing to do something about it? Has it gotten to the point where it is so intolerable that you are longing to liberate yourself from it, to create a new possibility for yourself in your life, to recreate your life? Maybe not all of it, maybe a portion of it, or maybe all of it. Meditate and contemplate on that on your own time over the weekend, and consider whether finally you have reached that intolerable line that you know you must cross. Change is happening whether we like it or not. The world is changing all around us exponentially right now. You can't avoid it. So the sooner you embrace the development of your own inner power, of your own creative power, the sooner you liberate yourself from your suffering, the better off you will be to meet the change coming at us like a freight train. Never mind the change in your own life. we're on a path for total societal change. So connecting to a community and learning this skill set is more important than ever. I'm going to invite Mignon now to join us for our guided meditation this morning.
Thank you so much, Chad, and good morning, everyone. So in this meditation this morning, we'll let go of outdated patterns, stories, or beliefs, creating space for natural, intentional, and authentic ways of being. And I'll be guiding you using the 5-step neurosculpting meditation process, a process that helps calm the nervous system, prime the brain for creating supportive ideas, and gives you agency in how you move through life. And I'll be giving brain cues and toggles. So you might hear me spelling out words, dialing up or down, bringing up bizarre imaginings. These are all by design. So we're going to take this time to go on a little meditation journey together. And this journey is going to be about releasing or reshaping what doesn't serve us so that the body no longer has to hold what doesn't work. And we will start this journey together by saying hello to the body, inviting the body to do whatever it needs to do in this moment so that you can find your way towards comfort and rest. You might want to adjust the cushions, maybe give yourself a big exhale. Because your body is nowhere else but right here, what would you like to do to make it even more comfortable? Would you like to fill yourself up with a large inhale so that your next exhale can flow out of you effortlessly? Your breath is breathing itself all the time. And in this moment, with your awareness, you can notice that. You can influence that by following the next breath as it's diving down on the inhale into the body, into the lungs, maybe into the lower belly, and following the exhale as it's rising back up, spilling out of your body, emptying and softening. This repetitious and supportive breath is doing this remarkable job in all moments, filling you and emptying you. And with a deeper inhale and longer exhale, maybe your body would like to nestle down into the cushion or seat just a little deeper. Your awareness can notice the points of contact between your body and the cushion. And you might like to make even more contact by releasing any gripping or allowing your weight to connect you deeper into the seat or cushion onto the ground. Your body is right here, breathing and settling, and your environment is contributing to your basic comfort. In what ways is your environment contributing to your comfort? Maybe it's the softness of a blanket, the comfort of your favorite shirt, or even a comforting thought you have at this moment. Because your breath is breathing and you're settled, you're invited to deepen your breath comfortably and naturally in and out. As your body continues to slow itself down, you are invited to awaken your creative mind playfully. It might be interesting for you to imagine you were a lamp. What kind of lamp comes to mind? A floor lamp, maybe a fancy chandelier. How does it feel to be turned on and all lit up or turned off? Or maybe it's more interesting to imagine a world where every time someone told a lie, their nose would grow and change colors, like Pinocchio, only with a rainbow twist. Can you picture it? Maybe someone's nose glows bright purple after a small fib, or burst into shimmering gold after a bold exaggeration. Can you imagine anyone in particular? This is your creative and narrative mind. Your body is always listening. And with your body listening so well, I would remind you that you are the author, not me, not anybody else. You are the author of this journey, a journey to identify and release what does not serve you in order to create the space of your authentic self. So I wonder if you might bring to mind a simple STRESS that your body has been carrying. This might be recent or this might be ancient. It might come to you as a conversation or an image, maybe a memory. And this particular stress or story or belief that you are imagining in this particular moment might have a particular color according to your creative mind. What is that? Maybe it's blue, maybe it's orange, it might be striped or something else. how would your creative mind describe the texture of this story or belief? Is it rough, like sandpaper? Is it sharp and pointed? Maybe it's too cold or too hot. Perhaps it's slimy or heavy like a brick. What comes to mind for you? And yet, all the while, your breath is breathing itself and your body is supported, and you are exploring and identifying and imagining. But if you were to dive down into the body, and if your mind could scan your body and find the location wherever you might believe this stress or story lives inside of you, where does your mind go? Are these colors and textures heavy in your belly or sharp in your back or cold in your fingers? What do you observe that is particular to you? And you might remember how well your body listens to your thoughts. So the invitation is for you to use your thoughts in this moment to imagine doing something different or better with what you are observing. If what you are observing is stuck and heavy, perhaps you imagine melting it and letting it spill right out of you. If it's too sharp, maybe you imagine filing down a sharp edge. If it's too intense, you could imagine dialing it down from 10 to 1. What does your creative mind get to do in this moment when you give it permission? And as your mind explores, your body listens. And sometimes it listens so subtly you don't notice. And other times it listens so profoundly it's obvious. And because your mind is shifting this particular story in this particular moment, how would you like to notice your body listening? Perhaps you become aware of space Maybe you become aware of shifting sensations. Maybe a muscle somewhere softens. What do you notice? You are bearing witness to your body's response to your mind. And if you imagined, felt, perceived a shift that supports you better, you are welcome to remember that shift by anchoring into it. You're welcome to place your non-dominant hand on the part of the body that is shifting, or you can make a gesture reminiscent of this, so that when you make it tomorrow, you're reminded of the shift you are creating in this moment. Embodying this shift right in your own hand. Or what if this shift could be represented in your mind by a scent? What could it smell like? A smell that you could breathe in tomorrow that could bring you right back here. You are invited to use your next few breaths to settle into this shift, inviting it to expand or continue shifting if that's comfortable. Breath is breathing itself. Body is still supported. If you could come up with one activation word that you could say to yourself tomorrow that would bring you right back to your capacity to shift, what would that word be? This might be a word that means something to you, or this might be nonsense. What if this word were a neon sign? What color would that sign be? Each letter glowing. And each and every time you use this word, or your hand gesture, or smell that scent, or go on this journey, you will strengthen your ability to shift what doesn't serve you. And all of this is already inside of you, and you can invite it to integrate more and more along with your breathing. As I leave you for the remaining time, allowing this shift to evolve, be well.
And welcome back, everybody. Reconnecting to the world without from the world within. Reconnecting to the fork in the road where you have a choice to continue in your unliberated state, your conditioned state, tolerating parts of your life or perhaps all of it that don't align with you, or the possibility of stepping into something new and doing it in community and in collaboration with others so that you don't have to do it alone while you develop your self-trust to be with the unknown that change presents. We are the creator of everything in our life, including the conditions of our suffering if we remain stuck in them, tolerating them, doing nothing about them, other than simply telling stories about why we can't. Or we could be the creator of everything and anything we ever dreamed and desired and thought possible for ourselves. The only thing in the way are your stories, are your excuses, are your complaints. The invitation, again, as we break for the weekend, is to consider where you are suffering in your life. Where are you tolerating your life as opposed to actively creating it to be exactly and precisely as you desire it to be. And I want to invite you again, if it's a fit for you and it's the time for you, to consider joining Whole Life Architecture, the community that is journeying together as each individual recreates their life by design. You can find out more at tmicglobal.com. And we'll be talking more about liberation as we continue our meditations next week. Wishing you all a wonderful day, and we'll see you then.